before we start, air fuel screws, pretty important. I put markers on them. Obviously bikes rattle and vibrate quite a lot, so they can come loose. So Kawasaki reckons 2.5 screws in. Always double check before you pull them out. Half, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, and that's bottomed out. Half, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, and it's bottomed out. Same thing, just screw them all in first before you pull them out to see if they've moved. Half, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, and it's bottomed out. Last one, half, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5. Perfect. They're still where the lines are, so they haven't really moved. So just bring them back to where they were. Can adjust them if you want, can play with them if you want, get better results. Maybe need more fuel, maybe need less fuel, depending on where you are. I basically just want to set it to what Kawasaki recommends, and that's 2.5 screws per adjustment screw. I am going to set it to 14 mil on the float level. I've had it at 14.5. The bike ran really good. Started to shudder and have not really a flat spot, but a bit of hesitation after about riding for an hour and a half. So I pulled the carbies back apart. I put them on 13. Kawasaki recommend 13. I'm in Australia, I'm in Sydney. Elevation, all that bullshit, I don't really get into that sort of stuff. I don't care. If they're set a particular way, try and put them back. If they don't work, pull them back apart. Try something different. So 13 is what the float levels are recommended at. I did 14.5, bike ran well, shuddered, put them back to 13, which is what they're at now. And there was constantly a hesitation and a lag and a bit of a delay in the throttle. But at that time, I did have my first attempt at balancing the carbies. The bike got a little bit hot because the fan wasn't turning on, so I had to shut it down. When I rode the bike, set at 13 with the carbs, what I think were balanced at the time. I don't think they were done correctly. The bike actually went pretty good, but it did play up. It was a bit of a flat spot, a bit of hesitation, but power-wise, it wasn't much better. It was much better, sorry, than doing it at 14.5. So I'm going to set these to 14 this time, kind of a halfway in between. 14.5, bike ran good, was a little bit slow. 13 with the carbs balanced, bike ripped, but it did start sort of hesitating and fuck around a little bit, and it kind of pissed me off because obviously taking these things on and off constantly is not easy. So now I'm going to try and meet it halfway. So we'll get these back to where they were. We'll get everything pulled apart, and we will set the float levels, stick it all back together, give the carbies another balance with the Motion Pro balancer. Again, not probably the best balancer to use, but it does the job. All right, so the carbies are off. Saved you the hassle of watching that whole entire process. Pretty easy. You've got some screws in the back for your caps. You get those ones off. Nice and easy. So I've already had those apart. I've already rebuilt these carbies before. Put a whole new jetting kit through it. Put a full rebuild kit through it. Set the levels to 14.5 originally. Bike ran really good. Still had a bit of a flat spot that I was chasing. Get a bit of screwdriver. But all around it ran pretty good. I couldn't really overly complain with how it rode. I think I rode it for about an hour and a half. And it started to jitter and jolt a little bit. Sort of in the mid-range area, which wasn't too bad. But obviously, that's not what we want. We want to try and get it perfect. So for a bike that's been sitting for 15 years, it wasn't too bad, obviously. These were gummed up. The guy I bought it off did say that he rebuilt the carbies. That was not true. One of them looked like they had been cleaned with spray of some sort, but there was gunk and gum on the bottom. I did go buy myself an ultrasonic cleaner. That made the whole process a little bit easier. Wouldn't say it was all end be all, and it made everything shiny and clean. I still had to clean it up myself with a toothbrush. with some spray, get a lot of the gunk out of it. But it did what it needed to do. So what we're going to do now, after they were set to 14.5, I had another look. Factory was set to 13, so I pulled them back out, set it back to 13. Attempted for the first time to balance carbies. I've never done that before. I got the Motion Pro carby balancing kit. Not expensive, fairly cheap, fairly easy to use. Mine has 3 vacuum ports, one that's blocked off. They are a 6mm. Motion Pro don't give you a 6mm adapter, unfortunately, so I had to go and order some adapters. I tried everywhere. I drove around everywhere trying to find a 6mm screw and adapter. Surprisingly, they're actually pretty hard to find. I don't know why they were so hard to find, but it was a little bit on the hard side to find. So I just went to the bike shop, ordered 4 of them. I only needed 1 of them, because obviously you've got your one main carby. You don't need adapters in all 4 because they already have vacuum port connectors on there. So now I have 3 spare ones. Not a bad thing, I guess. So we'll get these off, check the level again. I set them to 13. I do have electronic verniers that I do use. I don't go using a measuring tape or anything. So everything still looks relatively clean inside. Have a quick check, get all that extra fuel out. So there's your floats. It's nice and easy. I'm not a mechanic by any means. I only started playing with bikes maybe 9 months ago. Dirt bikes, obviously, started rebuilding carburetors on little KXs, on KX60s and KX85s and KLXs and things like that. Was it daunting at first? Yeah, because you don't know what you're doing. But once you sort of pull it apart and realise that it's all pretty easy, and just give it a go. Do some research. The internet does lie sometimes. The internet tells you some pretty random stuff. You can literally type in one thing one day, you know, what is the correct float level for a 1997 ZX7R? First time it told me, it said it's 14.6. So I set mine at 14.6. Check again later, says it's 13. So I don't have an owner's manual or repair manual on hand to double check, to verify. So I've spoken to a few people. They reckon 14.5 will help it lean itself out a little bit, run a little bit better. With the exhaust, as far as I'm aware, you're supposed to richen it up. I don't know. Again, I'm not a mechanic. I'm just a guy in the garage giving stuff a go. So I reckon this time we set it to 14. We kind of made it halfway, I think. So I use that end of the vernier as a bit of a dipstick guide. So make sure they're kind of sitting on a 45-degree angle. And have a quick check. See, they've ever moved. That was all a little bit uneven all across the board. Every single one of them gave me a bit more of a gap between. Like I said, I did set them not all that long ago to 13. So let's just set them to 14. And then we shall go from there in a little screwdriver. It's fairly easy. You've got these little tabs inside there, and you just adjust. So like I said, we're currently set to 13 now. So we get them to sit where they need to sit. I don't know if you can see that, but there is about a mil gap. Yep. You know, push it down, that didn't help. Get them right in the middle. So let's just get them all down, which is going to raise them up. Obviously don't want to push it too hard. You don't want to break them, you don't want to snap them. Trying to squeeze the floats, because if they do crack, then it's not going to be a good day. Give it another quick look. That one's almost spot on, that's all there is. Alright, so all the fuel bowls are off. I set them to 13 previously. So let's just start pushing everything down a little bit. Get a bit more clearance. Don't have to really push very hard with these, just be gentle. Be careful with the floats, you don't want to crack a float. If you crack a float, it's going to be a pretty shitty day. Because then you'll put it all back together. One will drown, fuel will go everywhere. So, tilt them forward, tilt them back, quick measurement. So I'm almost pretty much spot on, just by a little tug. These two can go down just a little bit. So lift them, to push them down you want to lift a little metal bit up, just a little bit. You don't want to go too far. This is definitely something, don't overthink it. It's actually quite easy. Put it in the middle, measure from the top. So that one's got to come back up a little bit. One and two are pretty much spot on. A little bit of an adjustment on this one, just a little bit. They will move around a little bit, so it's a little bit tricky, but just be patient, be gentle, take your time, but don't overthink it. Get your vernier in the middle. I've got this set to 14, so that is compressing that one a little bit. So we want that one to come down a little bit. Spot on. Number two. Number two is just barely touching. Perfect. Number three. Slight little tweak. Perfect. Number one. Awesome. So digital verniers, much better. Use the tip. Don't try and measure from these. It's just too difficult. You've got the extra little extended part here that gives you the measurements. Digital, non-digital, doesn't really matter. They use that little leg there. Let's get these bowls back on and then we will reassemble and start balancing the carbies. I'm going to show you the vacuum lines because there's not much online about them. So there's one, number 2 is blocked, there's number 3, and there's number 4 in there. So number 1 is connected to your vacuum port up the top, pretty self-explanatory. Runs down, goes to a T-piece, joins to number 4. Number 3 comes up underneath your leads, runs all the way back up here into your pollution gear. I'll come around the other side. So that's that guy there. Comes down underneath your leads, goes to number 3. So number 2 on my bike is blocked off. I'm guessing that's my master carby. That's an 8mm bolt. There's a small washer on there. So you have to take that one off, connect your balancer to that one, synchronize your balancer, and then you can start the process of doing what you need to do to balance your carbies. So when you buy your Motion Pro carby balancing kit, they only come with a 5mm adapter. Kawasaki down there runs a 6mm port. So you're gonna have to go and find yourself or buy the Motion Pro adapters. So that's 6x10. It's just a little tube with a thread. Surprisingly hard to find anything from your automotive stores, hardware stores. So I just ordered the Motion Pro ones. It makes life a lot easier. I'm gonna screw this one into number 2. I'm gonna disconnect the vacuum lines while everything's apart so I've got access to it. They actually come off quite easy. And they're probably a little bit old. Try and keep them where they came from. So obviously you can put them back to where they've got to go. They just pull off quite easily. We will screw the Motion Pro 6mm adapter into number 2 and then we'll start synchronizing the carburetors. All right, so I've got the 6mm adapter attached. I've done all this with the carbies off just because it's easier. You can see Motion Pro give you these little block offs. You block off 1, 3 and 4. You attach there. I've got a little crush washer behind that. Motion Pro give you a little rubber. I kind of want to try and make it as airtight as I can. Obviously I don't want any leaks. So then your tool, before you start, there's 4 little screws on top. You need to screw those all the way out. So before you calibrate your carbs, you've got to calibrate your tool. Make sure that's all even. And then it should be pretty straightforward. So I'll slap all this together real quick. We will run through it together and we'll see how we go. All right, so everything's back together. Poured a little bit of fuel down the carbs just to try and get some fuel in the bowl because obviously they're going to be dry. Got the sinking tool. Everything's all ready to go. Throttle's not getting stuck, snapping back, which is good. This might take a few minutes to start because obviously it's got to circulate the fuel. I've got my little makeshift fuel tank down there. That is not ideal, but I don't have a bladder. So you got to do what you got to do when you work in the garage, unfortunately. So I'll get this started. We'll get it warmed up. We will sync the balancing tool and then we'll go from there. Right, so the bike's been running for a couple of minutes now. Got a bit of a reading on the temp gauge. Sounds like she's warm, the oil's changed. So now we want to sync up this bad boy. Get this all nice and level, and then we can start balancing. start plugging up all these vacuum lines underneath. We'll get that done, and carb balance is all hooked up. 1, 2, 3, 4, obviously goes to 1, 2, 3, 4. There's little screws, there's adjusting screws. Now if you can see it, just there, see that guy there? Right there. So in between, there's one on each side. This one will be a bit tricky because I can't go back to the other side, but there's one in there. So in between the two circles, got your plunger, in between the plunger, down inside there, there's an adjusting screw with that yellow. There's another one in the middle as well, but you've got to do that one from underneath. So we'll fire the bike up. So you pair them two together, get those level, get those two level. So do 1 and 2, 3 and 4, then adjust the middle. So get these as close and as even as you can on the balancer, and then go ahead and adjust the middle once it even them out. So my idle has dropped down from what it was set before. So setting that to 14 mil for the float level. Obviously he's changed a few things. So we'll see how all this goes out now. We've got enough fuel, that's hilarious. Please don't do that at home, get a proper bladder.